Jalen Duren is the most physically impressive big man.
He's a super athlete. The body is incredible. He's a real rim protector, not like Chet Holmgren or Walker Kessler or Mark Williams.
If you want to know who Jalen Duren really is, forget the stats. Don't look at the numbers. Look at the way he plays the game. On TV, it looks like an easy job. A screen, a roll, a big board, and a dunk. It looks like simple basketball. But if you are the team playing against him, it doesn't feel easy at all. It feels like a non-stop war. Every time you try to go into the paint, it costs you something. It takes away your space, your energy, your breath, and your confidence.
We are a great team that's on the rise. Obviously a young team, got a lot to prove. And kind of just show the league that, yeah, I'm here.
Cade Cunningham brings the ball up the court totally calm and steady. The defense points and shifts around like they actually have a plan. And for a tiny split second, everything looks quiet until Duren sets a screen like a polite car wreck. He spins out like he already knows the next 5 seconds of the play. Then he starts moving downhill with so much power that defenders are scared to help. Because if you help him, you leave a shooter wide open. And if you don't help, you are about to meet Duren at the rim with very bad timing and even worse luck.
Got a lot to prove, and still a long way to go. Me, myself, I wanted to kind of take my next step, take another leap in my career, another leap in my development, and kind of just show the league that, yeah, I'm here.
And here is the part that ruins teams. Even doing everything right is just not enough. You can guard the pick and roll perfectly, tip the pass, and block the shot with your chest out and arms up, everything by the book. But as soon as the ball hits the rim and pops out, Duren is already inside your space like he owns it.
Jalen Duren's swing skill is his motor. When he goes to dunk the ball, he rips the rim off. He can run the floor. He's exceptionally long. He does just about everything from a physical standpoint.
He doesn't jump like a normal big man. He rises up like a choice you just can't take back. He pushes you under the hoop, grabs the board, and turns your best defense into 2 points that feel totally unfair. It's not about the refs or the calls. It is about how unstoppable he feels. That is who he is becoming in Detroit. He isn't just a bouncy kid looking for highlights anymore. He is a man who turns the paint into a giant trap.
People probably see me and probably think, oh, he's just some big, strong guy, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to keep my body where I want it to be in terms of weight, strength, athleticism, flexibility, and all those things. I think I'm in great shape, probably the best shape of my career.
Every mistake turns into a huge dunk. Every missed shot is his chance to make you pay. Every game feels like a physical debt you never agreed to owe, and that is what makes him so dangerous for the whole league. This isn't some old veteran pushing rookies around for a couple of boards. This is a 22-year-old kid who is still building his identity. He is figuring out how to make his presence feel loud without ever saying a single word.
He's been one of the top prospects since he was a freshman in high school, but the motor hasn't always lived up to it. So sometimes the production, or at least the consistency of it, doesn't impress as much as his potential does. If he ever gets to the point where he's an everyday guy, his game's going to go to the next level.
Detroit has been a joke for too long, but what Duren is doing shows us how real winning basketball starts. You can't ignore him when he keeps showing up every single play. He sets screens that cause pure panic, runs rolls that tear defenses apart, grabs boards that break your spirit, and finishes with dunks that scream at your mistakes. If the Pistons are finally leaving the dark and becoming a team that people must respect again, Jalen Duren isn't just a small helper. He is a part of the story that makes playing them hurt. The funny thing about young big men today is how fast the league tries to put them in a box. It's like they are sorting through papers instead of letting a kid grow. If you aren't hitting deep threes, using step-back moves, or playing like a guard in a huge 6'10" body, people call you limited. That is exactly what they tried to do to Jalen Duren. They called him just a rim runner, a dunker, or an energy guy. They said he was a kind of player who stays by the hoop but never gets to fame, a side character in someone else's show. And for a while, it looked like those people might be right. But then he gets under the hoop, rips away the board, and turns your best defense into 2 points that feel totally unfair. It's not about the refs or the whistles, it's about how he feels like he cannot be stopped. That is who he is becoming in Detroit. He isn't just some bouncy young kid hunting for highlights anymore. He is a grown man who turns the paint into a deadly trap.
He's been one of the top prospects since he was a freshman in high school, but the motor hasn't always lived up to it. So sometimes the production, or at least the consistency of it, doesn't impress as much as his potential does. If he ever gets to the point where he's an everyday guy, his game's going to go to the next level.
Detroit was a total mess. Lineups were always changing, losses were piling up, and everything was loud but stuck in the mud. Even when Duren did his job well, it just faded into the chaos like it didn't even matter. But this season has flipped the whole story on its head. That energy guy label isn't a fair score anymore. It is a huge mistake, because Duren didn't just get a little better. He started putting up numbers at a rate that forces you to stop and pay attention.
We got a great, player development staff, a great, coaching staff that really was hands-on with me. I got some one-on-one work with JB early in the summer that was really great. And I've never really had a coach in the NBA, at least, that really kind of took the time to have really one-on-one sessions with me. So I feel like that was great, not only for my skill, but for our connection and our bond as a coach and player. Be in terms of weight, strength, athleticism, flexibility, and all those things. I think I'm in great shape, probably the best shape of my career.
He is putting up 17.8 points and 10.8 rebounds while shooting nearly 63% from the field. That is not just hard work, it's a total evolution. You cannot fake being that good. Those numbers belong to a player who knows exactly what he is doing, not just a kid jumping for dunks. What really changes the talk is how steady he feels. He doesn't just have one good game and then disappear. He does it over and over like a beat nobody can stop. One night, it's quiet work with strong screens and smart moves for easy points. You check the box score later and see he has another double-double like it was nothing. The next night, he takes over in a loud way. He plays so well that the announcers can't stop talking about him. Just look at that win over New Orleans, 20 points and 15 rebounds. Detroit was in control the whole time because Duren was being a physical beast. And it's not just a one-time thing, it keeps happening. Even the Detroit team reports have to point it out now. The talk has changed from he's playing well to this is just who he is now. But what makes it even crazier is that he is doing all this while still growing up. He is still learning what his body can do and how to handle the long season that wears most young big men down. He even pushed through an ankle injury this month. Detroit and the News said he'd be checked again after that strain. For a player who hits people every play, that is a huge test. But he is still out there, wrecking the paint and grabbing boards like nothing ever happened. That kind of toughness changes how teams see you. It's not just about what you can do today, it's about how long you can keep it up. And that is where the energy guy label totally breaks. When Duren is on the floor, the paint feels small for the other team and wide open for Detroit. Every trip down the court forces the defense to make a choice. Do you sell out to stop Cade and let Duren run free to the rim, or do you stay on Duren and leave the shooters open? Both choices hurt. That isn't a small problem, it's a system problem. That is what you build a team around, because his game is simple, strong, and real. It keeps working no matter how teams try to stop him. Jalen Duren's story didn't start with hype or big headlines. It started with a warning that most people missed, because the league loves flashy stuff. Back in college, he wasn't out there pretending to be a big man who hides in the corner. He was doing old school work in a body made for today's game, grabbing rebounds like a vacuum, protecting the hoop like a guard, and making grown men look scared for whole games. Memphis only got 1 year of that, where he basically proved he was ready for the pros without saying a word. He put up 12 points and 8 rebounds a night, won Freshman of the Year, and went to the draft knowing he belonged. But draft night wasn't an easy welcome. He didn't take the easy road with clear headlines. He went through the NBA shuffle, where young players are treated like trading cards. Picked 13th in 2022, his rights moved around until he landed in Detroit, a team that was rebuilding everything. That mess almost made sense because Duren wasn't coming in for a clean system. He was walking into the noise. Instead of thinking the paint was old news, the Pistons saw him for what he was, a teenager built for a statement. They didn't draft a shooting experiment, they drafted proof that being tough still matters. They got a center who could run, hit, and rebound like the game still meant something. What's wild is how young he was while doing all this. Most big men need years to learn the pace and how to fight without fouling. Duren skipped the weight. Even now, at only 22, he stopped looking like a project and started looking like a real problem.
This season isn't just about him getting better, it is about him stepping into a rare zone where his presence starts to change the whole team. The stats show part of the story: 17.8 points, 10.8 rebounds, and 62.7% shooting. But the real truth is what those numbers mean. He is turning into the kind of center who makes the game easy for his friends and a nightmare for everyone else. Once a big man hits this level, everything changes. It stops being about what he might do, it becomes pure pressure. You can't plan for him like he's just a highlight clip. You have to prepare for him like he is the weather. He is unstoppable, physical, and constant. Detroit hasn't had a guy like this in years. Now, when Duren is on the floor, other teams feel that slow anger that eats at you. You think, we guarded that, right? We moved our feet. So why are we still giving up points? That is the thing. He isn't trying to build a brand. He's building an identity that doesn't go away when the lights go down. From Memphis to Detroit, the message has been the same. He doesn't need flash to win. He just needs the court, the ball, and the heart to make every play feel heavy. There's always that one moment in a young player's life when the noise stops and you can feel the switch flip. It's no longer he's going to be good, it becomes wow, he's already doing it. For Jalen Duren, that moment didn't come from a fancy dunk reel or a viral clip. It came in a game that made pro players look lost. It was the kind of night where the other team's plan got ripped to pieces before halftime. You could see it on the coach's face, that tight, mad look that says, "We studied for this, so why is it still happening?" That was Duren in Mexico City against Dallas, dropping a career-high 33 points and locking down the paint like it was his own house. Nobody was getting in without his permission. That game didn't feel like luck or a hot streak. It felt like a takeover built on power and non-stop pressure. No tricks, no fancy plays, just a young big man deciding the rim belonged to him. What made it matter wasn't just the points, but what it said about how far he has come. When a center has a night like that without needing his name called for every play, it means he's learning how to attack whole teams, not just the guy in front of him. He's figuring out when to sprint into position before the defense is ready. He knows how to hold his spot for that extra second so the help arrives too late. He knows how to finish through a hit without moving. People use the word rim runner like it's a mean thing, like you only score when someone else helps you. But there's a huge difference between a rim runner and a rim threat. A rim runner just moves. A rim threat changes the whole game. Duren is becoming the second one. He's the guy who changes the floor just by being there. The defense has to move sooner. The shooters get easier looks. Cade Cunningham doesn't need a perfect path to the hoop anymore, because the real help is already waiting behind the screen, ready to fly. That's where Duren's story and Detroit's story start mixing into something dangerous. The Pistons don't need him to be a fancy scorer to scare people. They just need him to keep being unstoppable. They need him to keep turning good defense into nice try, because that is the weight that breaks teams down over a long game. You can talk yourself into surviving against a fast player. You can't fake your way through a beating that never stops. By the fourth quarter, your legs start to feel tired, and that's when Duren takes over. That's when every offensive board feels personal. Every putback feels like a statement. Every dunk after a missed turn feels like Detroit saying, "You can't guard everything, and we know exactly what you will give up." The scary part is that this will last. Most breakout runs in the league today fade away fast. They're built on hot shooting or lucky calls or the right team. But Duren's game doesn't need any of that. His power comes from the kind of habits that go with him everywhere. Screens that free up teammates, rolls that crush defenses, boards that give second chances, and dunks that don't care who's in the way. He doesn't need to be perfect to ruin your night. He just needs to keep showing up strong and on time. And that's the sign of something much bigger. When a 22-year-old big man starts winning plays like a veteran, and when he makes every team change just because he's on the floor, that's when potential turns into power. That's when the league stops talking about what he could be and starts realizing how much it hurts to play against him. What makes Jalen Duren's rise feel different isn't just that Detroit found a kid who can dunk and grab boards. Teams find those every year. The real reason it matters is who he's playing with.
Cade Cunningham doesn't play fast. He plays smart and slow. He's like a storm that builds up steady and in total control. He makes defenders make bad choices while he waits for them to blink first. And when you put a force like Duren next to a leader like that, the pick and roll stops being a simple play. It becomes a living, breathing problem that haunts every single possession.
Defenses aren't just guarding a screen anymore, they are guarding a chain reaction. If you stay on Cade, he gets into a smooth rhythm and picks you apart. But if you help even for a second, Duren turns into a falling weight from the sky. He doesn't need much room, he just needs one late move and then it's a dunk or a rebound that breaks your heart. The cruel part is how it messes with the defender's brain. Usually the rule is to stop the ball and then recover. Simple. But against Cade and Duren, recovering is a gamble you usually lose. That tiny step toward Cade makes you late on Duren. And when you're late, you aren't stopping him. You're just meeting him in the air for an argument you've already lost. So teams start overdoing it. They move way too early. They try to guard the rim before the attack even starts. And the moment they do that, Detroit's shooters find open space. Suddenly, the defense is sprinting back like they touched a hot wire. It's about the choices Duren forces. Every move is a risk. He makes you pick your poison, and either way, he punishes you. Those offensive boards and second chances feel unfair because you thought you did everything right. People are wrong to call him just a rim runner. That name only fits if you need someone to find you. But Duren creates his own luck. Even when a play breaks and Cade misses, Duren is right there to turn that miss into points. He turns 22 seconds of perfect defense into nothing. Playing him is like trying to hold water in your hands. You can do everything right and it still slips through. That is what breaks teams. You do your job and box out, but the score still moves against you. Duren's rise is about power. He makes a star guard's life so much easier without taking the spotlight. His impact is like gravity. Even when he doesn't have the ball, the defense bends toward him. His power comes from timing and never quitting. Once teams realize they can't stop it, it becomes a huge problem. The Cade and Duren duo creates pressure you can actually feel. You see it when defenders react too early or crumble in the fourth quarter. It's the kind of pressure that just keeps showing up until the game is over and you've lost. Every young big man eventually hits a wall. In the regular season, just being strong can win games. But the playoffs are a different world. Nothing is easy there. Every move is watched and every lob is blocked. The big question for Jalen Duren is simple. When the easy stuff is gone, what is left? That is his next big test. It's not about if he can dunk, we know he can. It's about being effective when teams spend a whole week trying to stop him. Duren doesn't need to become a three-point shooter to get better. He just needs a few special tools. The first one is free throws. Playoff teams are mean. They will foul you and make you earn it at the line. If he can hit those, it changes everything. The second tool is the short roll. That's the space right after the screen where elite big men stand out. If he can make fast passes from there, trapping Cade becomes a huge mistake. Now you aren't just giving up a dunk, you're letting the whole team score. That is how a duo becomes a nightmare. The hardest part is defense. Duren has the tools, but great centers are about being reliable every single night. It's about the angles and the discipline to stay on the floor.
The NBA is mean to young big men because they get pulled into every trap. They have to guard pick and rolls, switches, and fast guards trying to trick the refs. One tiny mistake can ruin a whole quarter. The best players learn when to jump and when to stay still. They learn how to protect the paint instead of just hunting for highlights. The best version of Duren is the one who stays on the court, guards the rim, and doesn't give away easy points. All of this matters because Duren's ceiling isn't just a solid starter. His ceiling is being a foundation. He is the kind of center who holds up both ends of the floor. He makes the offense smoother and the defense scarier just by being there. The crazy part is that his best skills already work. The screens, the pressure on the rim, the second chances, and the tough finishes are all playoff gold. These things never lose value when the pressure is on. In the playoffs, it's not about getting faster. It's about how defenses try to take away your easy plays. That is when the great players stand out. The ones who can punish the defense and make the right move look easy. If Duren sharpens his next few tools, hitting free throws, passing better on the roll, and playing cleaner defense, then the pressure he puts on teams will become a nightmare they can't solve. Once he adds a calm brain to his huge power, the game will tilt in his favor. You won't just be trying to survive his strength anymore, you'll be fighting his smart choices and his control. It stops being about how to guard him and becomes how to survive him. That is the real story of Jalen Duren. He doesn't have to change who he is, he just has to get better at it. He is already built around the things that matter most: effort, contact, and showing up every night. He turns missed shots into new chances and turns tired defenders into easy points. If Detroit's rise is the real deal and Cade is the brain, then Duren is the heartbeat. He is quiet and focused. He is the kind of player who doesn't need to talk about being the boss because everyone playing him already feels it. This always happens right before a player becomes a superstar. The points keep going up and the impact is too big to ignore. Yet, the talk around him still feels like people are a step behind. People talk about Detroit getting better like it's just good vibes, or Cade finally getting good. Somewhere in that mix, Duren's name is just a side note. They call him a solid big who cleans up messes. That is the quiet disrespect centers today, especially the ones who don't shoot threes. In today's league, if you don't hit from deep, you have to be so dominant that the world can't ignore you. And Duren is doing exactly that, not by being flashy, but by being unstoppable. You can see he's the real deal by looking at the other team's body language. When he is on the court, opponents play differently. Guards stop driving to the rim, wings are scared to cut, other big men fight for boards like their lives depend on it because they know what happens if they don't. That kind of impact doesn't always show up in the stats. It shows up in the way an opponent's rhythm dies. The truth is that the NBA always moves in circles. It gets small, then it gets big again. It obsesses over spacing, then remembers that toughness at the rim wins games in May. Every few years, a flashy team hits a wall of muscle and everyone remembers the basics. Rebounds still matter. Physical play still wins. That is why Duren is more than just numbers. He's a reminder. He reminds us that you can't use math to escape a hit. You can't use a spreadsheet to beat toughness. Every winning team has to answer a hard question. Can you handle this for 48 minutes? Duren is the kind of player bosses whisper about after a loss. He makes them rethink their whole team. He forces them to ask if they are strong enough to survive a fight with him. When a young big man starts changing games with his presence, the whole league pays attention. Once you see Duren that way, the story changes. He is becoming a style and a problem that forces everyone to react. Detroit with Cade is already a headache. He controls the pace and waits for you to blink. Add Duren to that, and now it's physical too. It's not just chess, it's chess where every bad move hurts your ribs and costs you points. That is the difference between a fun young team and the matchup you want to avoid in April. This version of Detroit feels different because they have a plan that works everywhere. They have a leader who slows the game down and a big man who makes you pay for every mistake. They are a duo that punishes every crack in your system with force. You don't need him to go viral to matter. You just need him to keep making it painful to play the Pistons, keep turning rebounds into wins. Once he becomes consistent, it's over. The talk will catch up whether people like it or not. Duren isn't just changing how Detroit plays, he's changing how teams feel when they face them. That is when you know the league is on notice. The easiest way to explain his rise is this: he's turning hard work into an unstoppable force. Plenty of young bigs play hard and jump high. They can get big stats when the game is easy and the passes are clean, but very few can make an impact when the game gets messy. When the space is tight and everyone is tired, that's where Duren lives. That's what makes him special. Talent is everywhere, but that kind of nonstop pressure is rare. He brings the pressure that makes coaches bench players and makes defenders panic. Every pick and roll feels like a lose-lose choice. Help on the guard and give up a dunk, or stay home and get cooked. Either way, you're in trouble. When you look at Detroit this way, it makes sense. Cade Cunningham is the mind, the calm leader reading the floor. Jalen Duren is the muscle, the power source turning that patience into points and wins. They're a duo that punishes every crack in your system with force. Together, they don't need to be perfect to win. They don't need a hot shooting night or a lucky call from the refs. They just need time, because time is what wears people out. And being tired is where Duren does his best work. The longer the game goes on, the more every play becomes a hard test. Every rebound turns into a crash, and every missed move turns into another huge two-handed dunk. By the fourth quarter, you aren't just playing Detroit, you are wrestling with them. So the question isn't if Duren is good. We already know he is. The real question is how long the world can act like they don't see what's happening. Because if he keeps having seasons like this, and if he keeps fixing the small things like his free throws and his passing, then the paint tax stops being just a phrase. It becomes a total system and a massive problem you can't escape. That is when everything changes. Because when a young center gets so good that he changes your whole game plan, it's not just about Detroit having a good player. It's about Detroit having a real identity. And identities are what last forever. They don't need luck or hot streaks, they just depend on who you are every single night. So go ahead and call him a rim runner if you want. That name sounds safe and easy until you're stuck in a 7-game playoff series and you realize it's not a label at all, it's a warning. Because the second your big man takes a break, or the second someone forgets to box out, or the second your help defense moves toward Cade, Duren is already there. He rises up like a bad choice you regret, turning one mistake into 2 points that were always going to happen. And if you're watching Detroit this year and wondering why they look so different or why the jokes have stopped, it's not a secret. Start in the paint. That is where the story lives. That is where Jalen Duren is building something that doesn't ask for respect anymore. It just takes it. So here's the big question. How high is his ceiling really? Is Duren about to become an all-star star, the kind of center teams will be scared to face in May? Or is he one more jump away from that level? Tell me what you think in the comments, and if you want more deep dives like this or more stories about players changing the game, hit that subscribe button. See you on the next one.